Hey everybody, and welcome back to the board meeting. Today I'm going to be taking a look and reviewing Final Girl. Final Girl is a solo only game that puts you into one of the 70s, 80s, and 90s movies, the horror movies of that era, and puts you as a final girl, and you are going against one of the killers. It kind of takes those tropes of those killers from like Halloween and Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street, and kind of does tropes of those killers. So you're playing as the final girl, and you are trying to take out the killer before they take out you. It's a kill or be killed sort of situation. You win the game if you take out the killer, or you lose if they take you out first. So I'll take a very brief overview of what this game is and what you're doing in it. And to start off, you have to choose a final girl to play as, and that's going to kind of give you some boons that you'd get when you save some victims, and you're going to get a special ability if you save enough victims. Then you pick a killer from one of the feature films, which are little expansion scenario boxes, and you also pick a location. And the game is going to change dramatically from which killer you're playing against and which location board you are playing on, because each of these have sort of special unique rules that will change the game quite a bit. And in this game, you are basically going to be playing out cards and taking those actions depending on some dice that you're going to be rolling after you're playing these cards. So you're going to play out a card, and these cards are pretty simple and straightforward. They're usually moving around the board or searching different item piles to get items in order to help you complete the scenario, whether it's killing the killer or whatever you need to do. And there is also a couple tracks that you're going to be going up and down on in this game, and those cards can fluctuate. There is the horror track, which the lower you are on the horror track, the more dice you're going to roll. The higher you are on, the less dice you're going to roll for certain actions. There is also a time track that's going to keep track of sort of a resource to spend. And so you're going to play out a card, and whether it's walk or doing whatever, then you're going to roll the dice depending on what your horror meter is at. That's how you're going to determine how many dice you're going to roll. You're going to roll them, and depending on how many successes or star symbols that you get, you're going to take those actions. There are 3 actions on that card, and there's like a great action, an okay action, and a bad action sort of thing. Where if you roll 2 successes, you get the best action. 1 success, you get just middle action, and no successes. Usually bad things are going to come from that. And so you're going to just be playing out cards and rolling those dice, and then doing the abilities of those cards. After you've decided, you can play as many of your cards as you want, and you can stop at any time. And when you stop, then you can then go into these card resource piles that you have, and then you can spend your time that you have remaining, because some like action cards that you're playing are going to spend some of those time, but you can spend the rest of your time on cards to put those cards into your hand. The cards that you played are then discarded for that round, and you can't buy them again that round. They go back into this area where you can buy cards again next round. So you play cards, they're a one-time kind of thing, and then you have to buy them again if you want that card back. After you take your actions, which, like I said, it's moving around the board, trying to get to these victims, maybe bring them to escapes, or maybe you're trying to get to the killer and hit them, because there's like attack cards and stuff like that. Then the villain is going to activate. They're going to do some basic action, and then you're going to flip over a terror card. And the terror card is going to tell you more things that are going to happen, more bad things that are going to happen, whether it's the killer moving around, attacking more victims, or if they are just like getting more horror, whatever they're going to do. They're pretty straightforward cards. Every time the killer attacks and kills a victim, their bloodlust meter goes up, and they're just moving along this track of theirs. And the more victims they kill, the stronger they get, the faster they move, the harder they hit, and they might get little bonuses along the way, like getting more horror, moving up the horror track, or maybe they get to get more health back. And if you get so far on that bloodlust track, they reveal a sort of a special ability for them. And if you get so far so more along that track, you really reveal the final ability of them. And you, as a final girl, have abilities as well. And when you're going and saving these victims, you put those victims on your cards in these slots, and those slots are going to have little boons for you, though. And they might be, you might move up on the time track, you might lower the horror, you might be able to move an extra space, something like that. And if you fill up all those spaces, you flip over that final girl card, and it's going to give you some kind of unique special ability, a pretty powerful ability. You're in your final form, and most likely the killer is probably close to their final form as well in that state. So you're just going to be moving around this board, attacking the killer, trying to kill them before they kill you. A kill or kill be killed sort of situation. And you're just going to go until one of you is dead, basically. And that is a very brief overview of what's happening in this game. Now, the review part of this, let's start with the time it takes for this game. The time it takes is going to fluctuate depending on how dice roll and the killers that you play against and the locations. This game can take anywhere from about 20 minutes to 60 minutes in my experience. If you're playing like the basic scenario and basic villain, those are pretty straightforward and that moves pretty fast. But if you're playing against some more complex villains and killers, those are might take a little bit longer. And that brings me into the weight of this game. The weight kind of fluctuates along with that, because if you're playing the basic scenario, I would say this is a light game. Pretty light game. It's pretty easy to get into that first scenario, but the different killers are going to get, they have different levels of complexity, basically. And so this could be anywhere from a lightweight game to a medium weight game, depending on which location board you're playing on, which killer you're playing against. So yeah, that will fluctuate along with it. As far as some positives for this game, the theme is my number one positive for this game. This game oozes that 80s horror movie trope. I feel like I'm in those movies. I feel anxiety. I feel angst each turn. I'm running around the board trying to save the victims and my friends around the board while the killer just stalks around the board, taking out these other victims one by one, just slowly moving around the board, creeping around the board. And I feel that game. Even though you're just moving these meeples around the board, it feels thematic to me. I feel as immersed in this game as I do in a game with more narrative, with another horror game like Mansions of Madness, where there's a bunch of narrative in that game. There's not like a ton of narrative in this game. I mean, there's little flavor text on the cards, but I feel like the theme just really comes out really well in this game, and it's the theme that I really like. I love horror themed stuff, so I really like the theme in this. Replay value for this game. This is going to change from person to person for the replay value because it depends on how much money you want to sink into this game. So if you want to play this game, you have to buy the core box for this, but you can't play the game with just the core box. You have to buy what they call is feature films, and these feature films have a killer and a location board with them. And so the more of these feature films that you buy, and they're usually about $20 each, the more replay value you're going to get. And I'm not really a big fan of that system, because so you spend $40 to get one scenario, basically, then $20 to get another scenario, $20 to get another scenario. But the more money you buy, the more feature films you buy in this, the more replay value you're going to get. And you can just mix and match these killers with different locations. You can mix and match the final girls. The final girls aren't nearly as important to me as the killer and location board, because those killer and location boards are going to really switch up the game. So the replay value is great if you spend a lot of money on this game. If you're just going to buy one or two feature films, then it's not going to be as great because the variability won't be as high. But if you spend a lot of money in this game, you're just definitely going to be quite a lot of variability. One like neutral thing to me is the luck factor in this game, and it might be leaning more towards the negative side for me. I'm not a person who likes a lot of luck in this game, and there is a ton of luck in this game. I mean, you can play out the cards as strategically as possible as you can, but if you're rolling blanks and no successes, every time, you're not going to win this game. It's going to be a slaughter if you're just rolling bad for that game. And so you have to be okay with luck in this game. And this, I never mentioned this, but this is a reworking and a retheme of a different game called Hostage Negotiator. I wasn't a big fan of that game because of the luck in that. It was just, well, one big giant luck fest to me is what it felt like. And this game is more or less sort of the same way, but you're moving around a board on this one as well. So, but I'm not horror. I don't hate the luck in this one as much as that one. I do wish there was a little bit more ways you can mitigate the dice and stuff like that, but it's okay. Uh, but you have to be okay with luck because it is a very lucky game for sure. And my main negative for this game is that it feels like it can get very repetitive at times because you are kind of just looping around. You are playing cards, then the villain goes, and then you're playing cards again, and those cards go in the discard pile, and you're like, okay, next time I'm going to buy those again once they're available to me, and you're just kind of looping around, going through the loop until one of you is dead. And some games it didn't matter to me, but other games I did feel the repetitive nature of this, and other games I didn't notice it at all. So from game to game, it has changed quite a bit. So my overall thoughts for this game: this is a game I liked way more than I thought I was going to. This has had 2 Kickstarter projects that I know of so far, and I decided after the first season came out and everybody praised this game so much, I finally decided, okay, I'm going to kickstart the second season of this. And I'm glad I did. I do like this game quite a bit. It's going to get an 8 rating. I really like the theme of it. The theme is really what draws me into this game, more so than anything. The luck is there, but I don't mind it as much as I thought. So an 8 rating, which jumps up. I think I gave Hostage Negotiator maybe like a 5.5 or a 6 because of the luck. That theme really changes it, and I really like the board that they have in this game as well. So it is definitely an improvement in every possible way from Hostage Negotiator. This is going to be one of my go-to solo games for a while, and I've decided now that since I've played it quite a bit now, I'm going to start buying more and more feature films. Maybe not a bunch at one time, but every couple weeks maybe I'll buy one, play that out, and see how things go. And yeah, so an 8 rating, game that I really enjoy, Final Girl. Make sure to leave some comments down below. What are your thoughts on this game? Whether you like it, whether you don't, if you like the theme, if you don't mind the luck, if you like the luck. Either way, if you did enjoy this video, make sure to like and subscribe to see more weekly content from me, Shane, at the board meeting in the future. Hope you'll have an amazing day. Take care.